In today's chord lesson, we're going to take a look at the minor 6 chord. I'm going to share with you movable positions, root, E, A and D. The chord is constructed as follows, and I'll put this on the screen. So a minor 6 chord contains a root, a minor third, a perfect fifth and a major sixth, which is quite odd juxtaposition of major and minor within this chord, but nonetheless that's what it contains. So a minor 6 chord is just a minor triad with a major sixth added to it. If you compare it to the more commonly used minor 7 chord, then it is exactly the same, apart from it has a sixth instead of a seventh. So a minor seventh is root, minor third, perfect fifth, minor seventh or flat 7, and the minor sixth is root, minor third, perfect fifth and major 6, so one note difference. Say if we compared A minor 7 to A minor 6, A minor 7 is going to be A, C, E, G, and A minor 6 is going to be A, C, E, F sharp. Now, why is that important to know the difference? Well, when you're doing your arpeggios, there's only one note difference, so you'd have to just move your finger one fret further down, a semitone down, to get a minor 6th arpeggio. Now, this chord is very heavily used in gypsy jazz, so the music of Django Reinhardt. Take Minor Swing, for instance, a great example using A minor 6 and D minor 6. That's very much part of that sound. Now, onto the shapes. So, onto the A minor 6 shapes. I'm going to give you a few: root E, root A and root D. Now, starting off root E, this is an A minor 6. And I'll show you the variations. You could play it just with 3 fingers like this. That's a real gypsy jazz way of playing it. So that's the root, 6th, 3rd, and then you could add in the 5th with a little finger, like that. Or bar the 3rd finger and get another root on top. Got the little finger free then to add in the 9th. So you've either got 3, 4 notes or 5 notes. I love these chords for sliding into the sound great. The root A one that I use has actually got the 6th in the bass, so a bit unusual, but it works. So you know, when you've got a bass player playing A, it's fine. So you might know this as F sharp minor 7 flat 5, as we talked about earlier. It's also a rootless D9. The shape of T-Bone Walker, he used this a lot. So here we've got 6, 3, 5, root. Nice shapes you got. And then on root D, I'm going to show you the inversions for this, because these are great for soloing. So you got their root position, 3rd in bass, 5th in bass, 6th in bass. Great for that sort of playing, swing era, you know. Really nice, stand out over the top of a rhythm guitar or rhythm section. They sound great. So those are just inversions, so it's the same 4 notes, just moving up the neck. So we had root E, root A, and then the 4 shapes on root D. Those are the ones that I like to use. There are others, of course, but those would give you enough to use, certainly. As I said, Minor Swing would be a great song to look at to practice some of these shapes. You can use these top ones on the D string as stabs, which are great for, you know, chromatically going into them. You know, this shape here, the second shape I did, root A, if you know your blues and you know your Stormy Monday by T-Bone Walker, that's the shape he used for that. So he'd use that at fret 2 instead of G9 or G7. There's my C7. He'd move it over like that. Works really well. Let's talk about usage of this minor 6 chord. Well, you can try to substitute it for any minor chord in a song. Just bear in mind that the 6th, make sure it doesn't clash with a melody note, and that goes for saying with chord substitutions, wherever you put them in, make sure it doesn't really clash with the melody, otherwise it might sound odd. Try taking a minor blues and making the chords minor 6. That certainly adds a little bit more depth for me. Another really important thing to know about minor 6 chords is the relationship between minor 6 and minor 7 flat 5, in that if you compare the notes of A minor 6 to F sharp minor 7 flat 5, they actually contain the same notes. So A minor 6 being A, C, E, F sharp, and F sharp minor 7 flat 5 being the same notes but starting from F sharp, so F sharp, A, C, E. Why is this useful? Well, what it means is those chord shapes that we've done today could actually be used in replacement of F sharp minor 7 flat 5, although if you did A minor 6, it's going to be technically F sharp minor 7 flat 5 slash A, because it's an inversion of that chord. The other great thing about this is if it's an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord, you can play an A minor 6 arpeggio because they're the same notes, and vice versa. And it gets better, an A minor 6 is actually a rootless D9. If you looked at the notes in a D9, which is D, F sharp, A, C and E, you will notice compared to an A minor 6 chord as I put on the screen that there's only one note different, that an A minor 6 is a D9 without a root. Now this means that again your A minor 6 arpeggio will work over D9. For me these little shortcuts are fantastic because they cut out work and they mean that you can create interesting sounds. For instance, by playing A minor 6 over D9 and missing that root, you're going to create some interesting sounds, and not playing the root is actually quite a cool thing because it's very easy to get stuck in the mindset of hitting the root and just root bias when you're playing over chords. So just remember, for every minor 7 flat 5 and for every minor 6 chord and every ninth chord, there's two other chords closely related. Let's look at another example. Let's take D minor 6. So D minor 6 is D, F, A and B. That's the notes that we've got in that chord. Now, how do we know which minor 7 flat 5 chord it's related to? Well, it's related off the sixth of the minor 6 chord. So the sixth of the minor 6 chord is B, and so B minor 7 flat 5 is the minor 7 flat 5 chord which is related to D minor 6. How do we know which ninth chord it's related to? Well, again, from the sixth, that sixth would be the third of the ninth chord. So if we've got D minor 6 and B is our sixth, then B is the third of G, so D minor 6 is a rootless G9 chord. So there's just a few rules you need to know to work out the relationships between the three different chords. So if we take A minor 6, the sixth of that chord, which is F sharp, so we've got A, C, E, F sharp, that is the minor 7 flat 5 chord it's related to. So the sixth, F sharp, so you get F sharp minor 7 flat 5 is related to A minor 6. How do we work out what ninth chord it's related to, even though it's rootless? Again, take the sixth, and that sixth of the minor 6 chord is the third of the ninth chord that it can also step in for. So if we take that F sharp, hopefully you know that F sharp is the third of D, so A minor 6 is a rootless D9. These sort of rules, they can be difficult to remember, but after you've worked out a couple, for me it does kind of fall into place. So, you know, take your time with it and it will come. The other great thing about knowing about these chord relationships and how chords are closely related together, not only for soloing over them is it useful, but it's also useful for when you're trying to work out chords, because you might easily confuse chords because of their similarity. And if you know that you possibly are confusing a minor 7 flat 5 with a minor 6, or you know, a minor 6 with a ninth chord, if you know the ones that are easily confused, you can work out which one is the right one. Now you might be thinking, well, a minor 6 is the same as a minor 7 flat 5 chord. Well, whereas A minor 6 and F sharp minor 7 flat 5 contain the same notes, they don't function in the same way. You know, the minor 7 flat 5 chord works as a 2 chord going to a 5 quite often, whereas that minor 6 chord will often be played in position of chord 1 in a minor key or chord 4 in a minor key. And if you want to get more minor 6 chords into your life, then definitely check out some Django Reinhardt and start with Minor Swing. That's a great example containing A minor 6 and D minor 6. If you have any questions or any comments on today's lesson, then definitely leave them below. Please consider subscribing, joining me every Wednesday and Saturday for jazz guitar lessons. I typically cover, you know, jazz standards, how to solo over changes, my favourite jazz guitarists, and chord lessons like this. But anyway, I'll see you next time, and thank you for tuning in.